The purpose of this video is to determine the sign, positive or negative, of the position and velocity based on three graphs. So we know that velocity is a vector quantity, and we know that speed is a scalar quantity. What both of these have in common is the magnitude. And this is just the size of the unit we're measuring, and in our case it's speed. So this is basically how fast it's going. Both of these have magnitude in common, but only one has direction, and that can be left or right, left, up or down, and that is velocity, usually measured in meters per second. Here we have this graph right here. This is a graph. This is the position right here, and this object A is moving from left to right. So for example, let's say it starts off at a position of -10 meters. And it's moving, it crosses 0, and it's keep moving to the right. It keeps on moving to the right direction, which means that the position is going from left to right. So it's going from negative to positive. That means the velocity is plus. That means, for example, this could possibly be a velocity of maybe 5 meters per second. We don't know. But we know that this velocity is positive because this object is moving from left to right, and the position is going from left to right. It's going from negative to positive. So, for example, if a car was moving right, that means it would have a positive velocity. But if something was moving left, with the position decreasing, with not necessarily the velocity decreasing, but the position going from positive to negative, that means the velocity is also negative. So in this case, how can we prove that the velocity is indeed positive? Well, let's say that this object A went from a position of -10 to 3 in, let's just say, 2 seconds. And we know that velocity is displacement over time. So in this case, the final position is at 3 meters, and the initial position is at -10 meters. To find the displacement, you do the final minus the initial. So we would have 3 minus -10, which would be 13 meters. So this object had a displacement of 13 meters. And the time we discussed earlier was 2 seconds. So 13 divided by 2 would give us a positive number. It would give us 6.5 meters per second, which is a positive number, which is a positive velocity. So we proved that as object A is going from left to right, it has a positive velocity. Here we have another example, and here we have something in the vertical plane. So the object is moving up or down, and this could theoretically be a ball. It could be something that's bouncing in the air. It could be something that's been dropped from the air. So whatever it may be, we have to figure out whether the changing position is positive or negative, and whether the velocity is positive or negative. We see here that we have 0 here, and here anything above 0 here is positive, and anything here is negative. So we know that since it's moving from 0, it's going down to the negative direction. The displacement is negative. The velocity will also be negative. So let's pick a couple of points. Let's say that this point is 0 meters, and the final point is negative 5 meters. And once again, let's say our time is 2 seconds. We know that displacement over time is velocity, and we have a displacement of negative 5 minus 0, and we have a time of 2 seconds. And what we get as a velocity is negative 5 over 2, or negative 2.5 meters per second. So as something is going down, as the position is decreasing, as it's becoming more negative, the velocity indeed will also be more negative. And here we have our final example. Here it is quite similar to our previous example, where it is decreasing, but here we start off positive. We start off at 5, and the other example we started off at 0. So would this still be positive? Would this still be negative, or would it be positive? Because it's starting off positive, but it's decreasing. So let's say that our original position is 5 meters, and our final position is 1 meter. And let's say our time once again is 2 seconds. Here, theoretically, it should still be negative because the position is going from positive to negative. The position, it's decreasing. So for example, if I'm on the 10th floor and going down to the 3rd floor, my position is decreasing, so the velocity would also be negative. We can prove this by once again finding the displacement. So we have a final position. Displacement is final position minus original position. So our final position is 1, and our original position is 5. 1 minus 5. And over, our time is 2 seconds. So 1 minus 5 is negative 4, and our time is 2, which means that our velocity is equal to negative 2 meters per second. Once again, proving that our velocity here is negative. Although this was not on one of our questions in the book, let's just look at one example where the displacement is positive. Let's say we start off at, let's say this is 0, we start off at 2, and we end up at 7. So let's say this is our displacement, and our time is 2. Well, our final position is 7. Our original position is 2. And our time is 2. So we have 5 over 2, which is positive 2.5, which means that our velocity is positive. So whenever we have something that's increasing as a displacement, as it's increasing either right or going up, our velocity will be positive, and if our displacement is going left or down, then our velocity will be negative.